but we on the Holy Hill know this as the chapel. This is a spot where prayers have been prayed, songs have been sung, prophetic utterances have gone forward and moved the people who have moved a nation and moved the world. We are so deeply grateful to be able to continue that tradition tonight. My name is Phyllis Hildreth. I am here in the capacity of faculty for SO 326, Strategies for Civic Transformation. It is a live course. We have live students here. There will be a test and papers for them. They know who they are. This is also the second of 6 sessions that ABC is just so grateful to produce in full collaboration with Tennesseans for Alternative to the Death Penalty. And you will be hearing tonight's Mistress of Ceremonies from TADP, Ms. Rafia Muhammad, will be taking the mic from me in a short moment and guiding us through this evening. So, this evening, our second in the series focused on a report that dropped this summer entitled Doomed to Repeat, The Legacy of Race in Tennessee's Death Penalty and Criminal Legal System. Tonight, many of us wonder, along with the psalmist, how can we sing the Lord's song in a weary land, in a terrifying land, in a land that almost sometimes takes our breath away when we, like so many others, say we can't breathe. For some of us, the answer is art. And so tonight, we're going to join in this learning community to ask questions about, is art resistance? What is the art of resistance? How might art be a portal to liberation and to freedom? These are the questions before us, and I'm just so grateful that we will be hearing tonight from journalist Jerome Moore, host of the podcast Deep Dish Conversations, and artist Ndume Olatushani. Yes. Let's see what the art says to us and through us this evening. So, I'm sorry, I messed up. And now at this point, before we go to our Mistress of Ceremonies, I would like to introduce you to our president of American Baptist College, Forrest E. Harris Sr., who will bring brief remarks and further readings. Dr. Harris.
Yes, greetings to everybody. This is a wonderful series that we have started last Friday, a continuing President series, and to have a focus that brings us all to the point. If you use that psalmist, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land when everything around us continues to oppress? I would say to the people who ask that question, we must sing. We cannot hang our harps in the willows trees, but we must sing. And tonight, in this series with Ndume, we are singing with art. Art is either revolutionary or it's plagiarism. Art is either revolutionary to give us an understanding of freedom and what alternatives we might have and be inspired by. And I'm of the opinion tonight that that's what this art will do about a system that is doomed to be repeated if we hang up our harps in the willow trees. And we refuse here at American Baptist College to do that and to have this class in a series. I think our faculty, Phyllis Hildreth, I'm plausible because she has so many other roles. But as faculty tonight and our academic dean and vice president of academics, Stephen Dickerson, to start this series, and we're looking forward to it through the month of November, and others will join us. I see people that I met 10 years ago, 11 years ago, inside out, but they came colleagues, and they are doing wonderful and amazing things. Like Buford, Ndume, and others. And that is an inspiration minutes to say welcome, but it is a wonderful feeling, wonderful moment to be in this space with you and to have this President series focusing on this topic. We cannot let it repeat, and we're not going to hang our harps in the willow trees. Welcome.
Hello all. First of all, I want to thank all of you for sharing this evening with us. I am going to try to quell my butterflies because I am so excited to share this moment with you. I'm here along with my colleague, Stacy Rector, Executive Director of Tennessee for Alternatives to Death Penalty, and her along with myself, Rabia Muhammad McCormick. About 6-7 months ago, when we were tapped by BP to do some interviewing for this report that was going to come out, had no idea that in around May, June this year, that what we were going to read would be so powerful. And then we were faced with the space of, and so how do we disseminate the 70 pages to the public? Because what we read were actual, real stories. Even though this was an investigative report by a research organization that is bipartisan, and when you hear the word research report, you think they're just going to go in here and find facts and figures. But what it did was pick all these different counties, 84 different counties, and what happened in those counties. Those roots that were set here in Tennessee, and being able to draw the line clearly so that you connect the dots. And so although the piece is called Doomed to Repeat, the Legacy of Race in Tennessee's Death Penalty, we added on the word and criminal legal system because we felt it was important for individuals that may not be in the death penalty work, but also to be able to recognize how this tied into gerrymander, voters' rights, areas where people were having difficulties in starting businesses, what's going on with affordable housing now, everything that's tied to our legal system. We wanted people to have Dr. Pages. And so we tapped Phyllis Hillman and we said, we want to have an event. And she said, bring it a series. And so this is so exciting because even though the death penalty is a horrific thing, tonight we get to see beauty. We're going to hear some stories, but tonight we can say beauty. And as the president said, we're going to be singing. I would like to start this thing off with a musical piece from our artist, Luisa Lopez, who will inspire you as you look at Ndume's art this evening to be able to have some words to go with that art. So, if you'll come up.
I'm Luisa Lopez, singer-songwriter from the South. Ndume and I guess it was right before pandemic, I think, and we got to connect with each other, and he sent me some pictures of his pieces before they were finished, and it was amazing. Thank you, Ndume, for wanting to have me be a part, because I had put out a social commentary album called 45. This song was called Tired. It's the first that jail system would fill with people who look like me. Now, you know how cold it is to be left out from that wind. You always can see there's plenty of room. In the end, no one ever said I get tired of hearing the same old things over and over again, over and over again. Oh, I get so tired of hearing the same old things over and over again, over and over again. Oh, I get tired of hearing the same old thing over and over again, over and over again. Oh, I get so tired of hearing the same old things over and over again, over and over again, over and over again, over and over again.
Wow, that was so moving. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And now, for the time of the hour, we're going to be joined by, interviewing our special guest tonight, Ndume Olatushani, who's going to be sharing his story and how he was able to teach himself art and bring beauty after so much hardship. He's going to be being interviewed by another community changer who hates to be called an activist. He always says, I'm not an activist. But an activist is an individual that activates change. And Jerome does that. No matter, he pushes for that, no matter what our race is, or our religion, or our political affiliation, he pushes us to think outside the box to make change. So I'm sorry, my dear, that makes you mad. So without further ado, I'm going to bring these gentlemen up. And during their interview, we are going to be also joined by a gentleman who is actually currently incarcerated, calling in and sharing some of his story as well. And then following the talk with these gentlemen, we will be displaying Ndume's art, and I have brought y'all libations by request of Reverend Tucker. No, I'm just kidding. I did. You encouraged me to see the importance. Carry away, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. And so we're gonna try to be timely, right, and then leave it open as well for Q&A for the audience to also engage in this conversation with us, right? Because we bring community into this. Even though I'm asking the questions first, we're gonna bring the community into the second. And first of all, man, just give it a round of applause and Ndume one more time. You know, anybody that could serve 28 years, 20 on death row, and come out and do the things that you've been able to do. It's been 11 years since you've been, released from being in cage. Deserves a round of applause every time they walk in the room. So I just want to let you know that right now. And so we're gonna get straight to it. A recurring theme as we talked, for hours yesterday. The recurring theme is like you kept telling me I was preparing for freedom. Break that down to us, what that meant during that 28-year stretch preparing for freedom, and how that led into some of your artwork.
Right. Well, first off,
straight into the mic.
Yeah, first off, I'm happy to be here in this. I'm really happy to see a lot of faces that I ain't seen in a while. So I'm really happy and I'm honored to actually be here. The thing for me, and I'm gonna be watching my phone because he said somebody's gonna be calling in. They're still sitting on death row, and I think it's really important that we hear from him. So, you guys will know what these guys are sitting over there having to go through when we out here just fighting for them. But You know, for me, I think that, well, first off, I knew I shouldn't have been there in the first place. And, yeah, I knew I shouldn't have been there in the first place. So I was always thinking about the day that excuse me, the day that I actually would be coming home. So I was always preparing for freedom. I mean, I was one of them people that, like I said, for the first 10 years that I sit in prison, I refused to have a TV in my cell because I knew what that would actually mean in terms of just a lot of lost time. And so I chose to pick up law books and just read stuff that, I mean, I was not one of them people that, you know, read for entertainment. I mean, that's not to say fiction don't have its value. I know it do because a lot of it is just loosely based on life in a lot of cases. But for me, I was always trying to pick up something that I can actually, that was going to give me something that make me better able to, once I came home, to be the person that I'm hoping I am now, and trying to live up to that. So, and I had a lot of good people around me too, though. And so, so yeah, I mean, that's what preparing for freedom looked like for me.
And when you
And
say,
it saved me.
yeah, and when we talk about this in a lot of this prison reform, criminal legal system, is that support system.
Right.
When you come home, right?
Right.
Because most people are coming home, right?
That's right.
Right. And so, what did that look like for you preparing for freedom and that support system, and how much that did for you? But on the flip side, what did that not look for some other people that you knew that also came home and had a harder time?
Right. Well, and I would certainly say this here. My situation coming home is certainly not typical of most people coming home. Most people coming home struggling, trying to job, all these different things that people out here trying to do. So for me, preparing for freedom was actually, and there's people in this room, you know, like Janet and Pat and some other people in this room that was coming out for us. They would come out to the prison. So that actually gave me an opportunity to not only, and I always had my family, but not only to get involved and see and be connected with people in a way that, like I said, it was important that when people coming in there, that it was important to me that when I came home, that I honored that by doing the work that I'm doing, because I'm telling you, it was people that I didn't even know, that actually, I'm talking about, gave me the strength to go through, like you said, just this dehumanizing process. Prison is a place, is dehumanizing, and is put together to basically, you know, to suppress people in a way, because the prison system, they need people sitting in there. A lot of people, I shouldn't say most people, but a lot of people getting out of prison here, they recidivate back in the system within a couple of few years because of the very things that you said about, what I'm saying about not being prepared to come out.
Right.
And so that's for me, that's the thing that, like I said, I was always looking toward that, because it was certainly times when I was sitting in prison that I had some moments of despair, but I'm telling you, I was never devoid of hope that one day I would be free. That was never.
Right. Being an innocent man, that's different, right? Being on death row, knowing that I did not commit this capital murder in 1985. That wasn't me, right? But then you have that, when you go in, you don't want to be telling everybody, yeah, everybody in jail is innocent, right? Everybody in prison is innocent, right? As an innocent man, mentally, how are you carrying on death row? Right? Knowing that I'm innocent, but I have to sit here because this, you know, quote unquote, justice system, and I'm using quotations with justice system said I'm a guilty man.
Right. Yeah, I think in terms of, you know, for me, like I said, I always had my family, and that, I'm telling you, that made a difference. I always had people around me that believed in me and knew that I shouldn't have been there in the first place. So that's the thing that really gave me, that was my first strength. You know, to just, because I knew I had people that was actually supporting me. So, so yeah, I mean, that was the thing for me.
What do you think about that word justice?
Well, certainly, I didn't receive justice, and I think most people sitting in jails and prisons don't necessarily receive justice, whether they're guilty or innocent. I mean, certainly the person that's going in there innocent ain't getting it, but you got a lot of people sitting in prison that they ain't receiving justice. They just part of this system that's operating. There's hundreds of billions of dollars involved in locking people up, and you know somebody going. And a lot of time, when people coming in, they overcharging you. They charging people with crimes that they probably shouldn't be charged with. But when you walk in there, whatever the charge is, they're gonna always elevate it to the highest charge. And most people sitting in prison plead guilty. I mean, the point that you made about me, I was not one of them people that sit in prison hell. If you extended your hand to me in friendship, it wasn't even necessary for me to tell you why I was there. And so, and I didn't, because I know most people, I mean, you say that you innocent sitting in prison here. Most people saying, oh, hell, everybody in prison saying they're innocent. So I ain't want people to, just dismiss me like that. And so, I wasn't one of them people. But if you could help me here, I'm going to tell you about how I need and why I need your help. Yeah. But yeah, locking people up is a huge industry. And
so we don't know what justice look like.
We really don't. I mean, if you take somebody that commit a trespassing, for instance, walk in this room and happen to pick something up, pick a bottle of water up, and people saying, well, hell, that was a first-degree burglary because the people, you went in somebody's house, for instance. And obviously, that's you overcharging the people, but they do that to force people into, entering pleas to crimes that, like I said, they probably shouldn't even be in there. Most people sitting in prison, I'm telling you, or I shouldn't say most, but a lot of people sitting in prison, I'm telling you, that sit there for decades, I'm telling you, they can come out here and be productive people. But you're dealing with a system that, we sitting on this college campus. And that you got people in the morning, they'll be sitting up around some boardroom tables, trying to figure out how to get some kids in this system, rather than taking some of that money, a small portion of that money, and making sure that they can go to this school. And so, and I'm saying that's the thing that we have to be aware of when we out there.
It's deep right there, because people actually in a boardroom calculate second and third graders in certain districts and zip codes. How many beds we need to create for this district?
That's right.
For this district, and what type of money we're gonna make from it.
Right. I mean, that's some devilish stuff, but it's true.
Yeah. You have this painting right here.
Right.
Voices of 2023.
Right.
Daunting. Can you break that down to us a little bit and what that means and what that painting, what that art is saying?
Right. Well, let me say this here about art. And I appreciate that we celebrating it here tonight, because art is really important. I mean, when you talk about a bridge, you can go, we know people thousands of years ago put their hand on the cave wall and spit some berry juice or whatever they was able to leave it there. But you can't deny that they was there. And I'm saying that's how powerful art is. And for me, I'm telling you, art literally and figuratively saved my life. Because when I'm in a small cell, 23 hours a day, art, I'm telling you, I was able to find freedom in that space. And when you talk about whether art is resistance, I'm telling you, using color in my art became a form of resistance, because if you ever been inside a jail or a prison, you know if paint on the wall is some dull, white, gray, battleship color, whatever they say the color is. And I'm telling you, that environment, is devoid of color. But the thing for me, I'm telling you, they couldn't stop the color that was happening in my head. That was a form of resistance for me. In this particular piece over here, and you can see on the left-hand side of that piece, the actual piece that I actually used to create that. And this particular piece, Voices of 23, those newspaper articles that you see on there, these are people, politicians and other people in positions of power. That's their words up there about, they think black people got more rights than them because they can't come and hang us on the tree no more. That's what a sheriff or elected official said in Oklahoma. And if you pay attention to this presentation that Stacey and them they put out there with all these names of people here in Tennessee, and at the end, you hear a politician right here in this state of Tennessee saying that they want to bring back hanging as a form of executing people. And so, so for me, I'll tell you real briefly how I, not only this particular pain, but how I came to it in the first place. So when I'm sitting on death row, I will always try to use my art to challenge some of these issues that's happening around us. I'm from the time I started drawing and painting, I realized and understood that as an artist, some responsibility come along with that. And so, so I would incorporate some of this stuff in my art years ago, but I always wanted to do a larger project. And fast forward, I came home in 2014. We was up in East Tennessee, and I had an opportunity to go out on the lynching site. And we had that's a whole nother story. I'm telling you, it was a whole nother story about what that really was and how I internalized that, right? But there was more water on that seed, I'm telling you, I already had in me. And fast forward a little more, thank you. We got Trump. And when we had these races down in Charlottesville, down there on the stuff that they was on, and he said it was good people on both sides, I knew then it was the time for me to actually do this series. Because I'm saying that when you look at these pictures from these old lynching sites, you got thousands of people out there, and there's a lot of people, I'm sure, said it was good people in that crowd. And so that for me was the thing that, you know, precipitated me getting a series. And this particular piece here, like I said, I think that, and it's an interactive piece. In fact, I'm gonna give people an opportunity when it's over. If you got something that you want to speak to what these people saying on that, then you will certainly have an opportunity to jot whatever that is, because I think that people should hear it. Right. I mean, you can see what them people saying. If you got something different to say about that, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to, you know, just put whatever it is that you want to put on there. But like I said, I think art is important, and it's the thing that bridges.
When we think about their report, doomed to repeat.
Right.
How can we prevent, combat,
right,
us repeating things that have happened to you and many other people, and some people even in this room?
Of course.
Right?
We got two brothers in there. I spent time with them. They spent a quarter century in prison themselves. And I think that we should acknowledge them as well, too, because they up in here today.
If y'all want to stand up, raise your hand.
Yeah, so
how do we not repeat?
I think the thing is that what's happening right here, first off, I think that education is, I mean, you can't get around that. And the thing about once we know, knowledge makes us responsible. I mean, as long as I feign ignorance, I ain't got to do nothing about it. But when I come in this room and I hear I walk out of here with a different perspective and thought, then I'm going to go out there and make a conscious decision whether or not I'm going to tip this over or say, no, that's not the right thing. You see what I'm saying? And so I think that certainly what Stacey and them doing, you know, doing this here, that's the thing. I think that it's through education and challenging people. You know, when you think the death penalty is somehow, you know, somehow a solution, I'm telling you, that's the death penalty only reinforces what we see happening in this country. I'm talking about the United States is one of the most violent countries in the world when you look at intra-violence by citizens against other citizens. And that's directly related to the death penalty, because here, if the states can use it, then people saying, well, why can't I use the same thing? So, so yeah, I think it's all related.
And I'm glad you brought that part up about America, the United States specifically, because
right.
I think all of us are a little bit conditioned by that that system of wanting to produce harm to one another, right? And you can just reflect on your own personal situations, on whether somebody did something to you, whether physically, mentally, and what was your first thought? What did you want to do back to them? Was it a more restorative approach, or was it, I want some get backs revenge?
Right.
And I think we have all been in that situation at some time, because we in the United States of America. What else do we know?
Right.
They have taught us violence is the answer from pre-K up until college, right? Violence is the answer. Discipline
Right.
is the answer. What would be your thoughts about how do we combat that from a community level, where we can start to talk about something different than, I'm putting you in jail from playing as little kids, right? Because that's what it's called. I'm putting you in jail, right?
Right.
I'm putting you in prison. You're in lockup.
Right.
What are some of the things that we can do and educate or uneducate ourselves about as community to
Right.
start to change that narrative, and even change just that thought about
Right.
being so punitive and being so violent and harmful to one another?
Right. Well, I think it starts, like you said, with children. I think that you know, and I was one of them kids that grew up. I got a whooping. You know what I mean? But
Me too.
Right. I got a whooping, right? But the reality
Ass
is,
whoopings, you know,
right.
specifically.
If you want to get down to the nitty gritty, exactly. But you know, the reality is though, I mean, if whooping worked, we'll still be slaves. You see what I'm saying? Because they whooped us from can't see in the morning to can't see at night, and so I think that when you say how do we begin to combat that, I think that we have to begin to think about how we parent our children, because I'm telling you, if you take a child and you whooping them, I mean, that ain't, I'm telling you, I got whoopings. When I grew up, you can get, my mother tell me, yeah, if he acting up in school, you could whoop him at school. And I'm telling you, sometime I would wear 2 pair of pants because I knew I was going to get a whooping, right? Because
Soften that belt a little bit.
right, in school. But the reality is that it didn't really stop me from doing nothing. It made me straighten up in front of, you know, my mother and other people. Yeah. But it didn't really stop me from, you know, dropping out of school and none of these things that I eventually end up doing, right? And so I think that that's where we have to start first. I'm talking about, you know, I think particularly in the black community, and this ain't, and it crosses all communities, but I'm talking about our community particularly now, that, you know, when you taking a child and you got, you know, parents that, you know, think that, okay, one of the ways that I'm gonna put you in check is whooping you. And what that reinforces, just like you said, as a child, when you sitting down looking at a cartoon, there's violence in it. You see what I'm saying? You being spoon-fed this violence, and so when it's being exacted against you, you learn that, okay, well, this is the way that I need to communicate, because we ain't talking. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Violence is a form of communication. Yeah. And so that's where we start, and I mean, and it's a whole lot more that we can do with other people, grown people too, though.
Being activist is, you know, Rafiq.
That's right.
I like to say I'm gonna explore social change, but whatever. But I'm a big component of those who have been harmed by system being able to also combat it and building power with those individuals, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a few members in here that's been incarcerated that is doing that. But what suggestions or advice or ways can community help build with people that are on death row? People that are in cage that want to do something to combat the system, right, but they need that outside support to be able to do that.
Right. Well, it's a whole lot of things that certainly I would say when the time comes, but them 2 brothers back there chime in as well too, because they know it like I know it. Well, one thing is that, I mean, when you think about, you know, combating some of the stuff that's, I mean, the system, is that, first off, we have to stay connected. You know, the system is set up to totally disconnect people from their families and communities. I'm telling you, that's a direct link to people recidivating back into the system, because when you come out, it's like you was asking in the beginning, what I had versus most people coming out of prison. I'm telling you, if you come out of prison, and I ain't never met nobody in prison the whole time I ever was in there talking about I can't wait to get out to come back. You know, most people sitting in prison, they want to come out and do the right thing, but when you come out and you struggling to get a job, I mean, if somebody take you in as a family member, whoever take you in, at some point, if you ain't working, they saying that, you know, you need to find a job, you need to do this, something. Yeah. And for some people, when they hear you need to go do something, then I'm saying for them, that means that, okay, well, I need to go back out here and do some of the stuff that, whatever took them to prison in the first place. And so I'm saying that the way we combat that is that first off, we need to be reaching out to the people in prison, because just like you said earlier, 95, 96 or 7% of the people sitting in prison and coming home one day, and we as a society got to decide how we gonna welcome them back. Because if you don't, then you know, and I'll give you a fine example of this, and I've been talking about this since it happened. They had the case out of Memphis. I'm sure you guys heard about it. It was all in the news, all around the world, where this guy would spend 20 years in prison, got out, and if in fact he did it, I don't know that he did, but they say he killed this woman out jogging one morning or whatever the case is. They took him as, he was a 16-year-old kid and kept him for 20 years, kicked him out when he was 36 years old. And I'm saying that 20 years, you had a kid, hell, you could have sent him out a doctor, you had 20 years to do something with him besides stick him in a cell. And I'm talking about create a ticking time bomb. And one of the things when I was sitting in prison, and not only witnessed it, but once I got off of death row, I worked as a legal clerk in the law library. So I would, have to go around the compound and, and just try to help people with their legal stuff. And part of my job was to go on administrative lockup where the guys was locked up all day, and they would take people, and there's people, and I know it happens everywhere, but they would have people and they put them in a cell, letting them out an hour a day if they bring them out at all. And I'm telling you, treat them like an animal. And a lot of them would sit there for 4, 5, 6, and even more years, and when their time is up, they kick them right out. You see what I'm saying? It ain't like you got a step-down program or something, a counselor, somebody coming in there trying to help you with what the people that did to you. And I know, like I said, based on being in this system, when you take this 16-year-old kid, I don't even want to imagine what that 20 years must have been like for him.
But you was what, 25, 26 when you were? That's not like that's still you in your prime.
I certainly was. I was a young man myself. When it happened to me. But like I said, when you take a 16-year-old kid and you take them and put them in this system, and I'm sure it's true for any system in this country, because I'm telling you, whatever you hear people talking about, what you think prisons is in this country, I'm telling you, being locked up in prison in this country, it ain't easy. It ain't easy, but you hear this stuff about, they sitting in there watching TV, they doing this, that, and other, but I'm telling you, the truth is that when you go by most prisons or all prisons, hell, you look out there, you see manicured lawns and flowers in the summer and some more stuff, but I'm telling you, it belies the truth about the deprivations that people are living back there, particularly those on death row. I mean, I just seen people take their own life because of the pressures of being under, living under those circumstances.
And I want to talk about that a little bit, because I don't know how many people know this story specifically, but when we was talking for many, many hours and just getting to know each other a little more, I was trying to figure out, like, man, like, was it any moment during the process where you feel like you was going to snap or be that quote-unquote angry black man, right, justifiably so, whether it was in a courtroom or you at the prison, right, and you was like, that really, you really held your composure. Can you tell us a little bit about that process, and what was the one thing that really, during that time, that really kind of broke you down, but, you came back from it?
Right. You mean in terms of just, I think
speaking with especially with your mother.
Oh, right. Yeah, but for me, and I was, I mean, the first couple of years that I was in prison, I was an angry black man. I mean, I earned that that title, and I probably could have, under some circumstances, cracked somebody's head about what they had did to me, right? But the thing that happened to me, and I know it's true anywhere yet in life, but especially true in prison, I dreaded, the people coming telling me I need to make a phone call home, because if they come and tell you that, you already know what that means. Somebody in your immediate family, something that happened to them. And so a couple of years into my imprisonment, people come to my cell and tell me, hey, listen, we need to take you to make this phone call home. And when the people stepped to my cell and was telling me this, I'm already automatically thinking what my mother gonna tell me once I got down there to that phone. But when I got to the phone, it was actually my sister telling me about my mother. And I'm telling you that, and I was saying this, I'm telling you, when my sister was telling me this, you see this stuff on TV and I'm telling you what's happening to me. My sister telling me this, everything slowed down, it's all foggy, cause ain't nothing inside of me want to hear what she actually telling me, but in those seconds, I'm hearing what she tell me. And man, for the first 3 days, I'm telling you, if my eyes was open, I was crying. If I wasn't crying, I was balled up in the tear-soaked sleep, trying to get through that thing. But the thing that happened for me, on the third day, I'm laying down, I'm telling you, face dried with tears, trying to ball up. I ain't want to get up, nothing else for that matter. But my mother came to me, man, as clear as we sitting there, and the only thing she said was get up. I jumped straight up. It's a true story. I jumped straight up because I'm saying, damn, this nightmare, this how it really was for me. I'm saying this nightmare is actually over, but I woke up, it was what it was. And but that was the thing. My mother telling me to get up, and some of the things that she said to me the last time I actually physically seen her, because I hadn't seen her, it was almost, I think it was like 10 months or so, the last time I seen her before her death. And on the way out the visiting room, I just, you know, you can only hug and kiss going and coming. And I think this Akil on the phone, y'all.
Hello. This is a prepaid debit call from
Akil.
an inmate at the Tennessee Department of Corrections, River Bend Maximum Security Institution. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL.
Hello, my brother. How you doing?
Hey, man, we sitting here, we've been waiting on your call.
Yeah, sorry for the delay, though. I was helping a friend of mine just had a knee surgery, so I was helping him.
Let them know that you're gonna plug them up.
I'm plugging you up into the system so we can all hear you, okay?
Okay.
Give me 1 second. You ain't gonna get nothing like this nowhere else.
That's right. Like I said, I really think that when
Can you tell us what the gentleman's name is?
this is
Can you go
Akil
ahead,
Jahi.
Hello? Hello? Yes, try to speak one more time for me, please.
You have it on mute.
I shouldn't have it on mute. It should be. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. We can hear you.
We can hear you now. Can you hear us?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you very well now. Sorry for the delay. I was helping a good friend of mine. He just had a knee surgery, so I was helping him up to his cell.
Right. Hey, man, why don't you introduce yourself and let people know where you're at over there?
Yeah, hello, everybody. My name is Akil, and I'm sitting here on death row. I was just sitting here helping a good friend of mine out that had a knee surgery, helping him up to his cell.
Yeah, so I think that you should certainly just listen in and chime in if you got something to say. But we certainly honor that you're with us, man. And I think it's important, like I said, that people hear from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, what's going on, brother? This is Jerome Moore.
Huh?
I'm just saying, how you doing? This is Jerome Moore. I'm here with the interview with Ndume.
Yeah, I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, but I want to hear more from you and just what is life like right now for you? Can you just what is life like? What can people should be talking about? We're talking about people on death row. What do people should be doing? How can people get activated?
Yeah, I think what a lot of people should know, about being here on death row many years as I have, been like 30 years now or like 5 months. And what's been happening here lately is, you know, everything driving up to the place, everything looks lovely because you got like a beautiful cut lawn and you got scrubs like well groomed and everything, but that's not really what's going on the inside. On the inside, you know, you got a lot of brothers that I've been around for like over 30 years now that I've been seeing is, you know, their mental health is really declining on the inside here, and it's just really getting really bad to the point where, you know, people are just like self-mutilating themselves, you know, from the stress of being here. And the only thing that kind of helps that we get here as far as medically is they just want to medicate you to the point where, you know, until they execute you. Yeah, so.
I think it's true. Let me say this here about what he's saying in terms of, you know, and I certainly witnessed the same thing that you have people, I'm talking about because of the deprivations of isolation, that I've seen people come in just like he said, just the same as, you know, some of us out here right now, but once they subjected to the treatment, that they end up on all type of psychotropic drugs. There was a couple of people over there that, this one guy, and I know you remember Greg Thompson, Ikea, that this guy helped me. I got a GED while I was on Jeff Road, and this guy was a math genius. I'm telling you, he the one helped me, you know, get ready to pass this test or whatever. They used to come at some point, they used to come and force a shot on him once a month. And I'm telling you, whatever they was giving him, for once a month, he would be walking around like a zombie. And they would force the shot on him. And I'm telling you, that's the type of stuff that they doing to people in this country that's sitting in prison, particularly those sitting on death row, because like he said, you know, once you going through this process and they talking about executing a person, they want to know that you're competent. And I don't know what that competency hearing look like, but I'm sure it's, you know, do you know your name and some other old BS. And if you say that you know that, okay, well then you ain't got no problems. And so,
Right.
So yeah.
Right, and that's what, you know, that I witness every day. You know, people know so much to the degree that they're like like cutting on themselves. And I'm like, it's got that bad to the point where the only thing that they want to do is just medicate you and not really like solve the problem itself.
Yeah, I want to take this time too to involve community in this dialogue. So if you have a question or anything, there's a mic right in the middle, right there, where you can direct that question or statement, whatever you have to say. I just think it's a good time to have that dialogue Q&A for community. And so I want to give people the time. If you have anything on your mind, you can take that. You can take that time at any moment. But yeah, and so this is surreal to me right now.
Ma'am, I appreciate you doing what you're doing. I think it's really important. I mean, everybody that created this, I mean, it's some important stuff.
I think it's even more important that you have people that's impacted, right? Talking about these experiences, so people can really hear like this is real life. This is not TV. This is not movies. This is not music. This is not entertainment. There are people that are suffering and trying to find and keep hope. Right. Whether it's through art, whether it's through staying in communication with family and community members, to doing that, so to witness that right now and to see that, it's a beautiful thing. Right. You know, in a weird way too at the same time, because we have a brother on the phone right now.
Still facing
yes.
Been there 30 years. Wrap your mind around that.
That's just as long as I've been alive.
That's what I'm telling you now. Wrap your mind around that. 30 years sitting in a cell, sitting in a unit where, hell, when he come out of his cell, he can only probably walk 50 or 60 feet before he turning in a circle. Cause you in this, you contained in this unit.
Juvenile justice is a big thing, especially in Nashville, because we have Judge Sheila Calloway, who's a big advocate for youth and not locking kids up, right? What are you seeing inside the prison when you see these young men coming in? What is on their mind? Where are they being misled? What is the support that they need these days, especially with so much stuff being perpetuated and glorified? Even prison is being glorified through a lot of our entertainment,
Right.
a lot of our music.
But see, that's no accident. I mean, the people that's promoting the music is probably the same people. If you check their portfolio, you'll see they invested in the prison industry. That you know, when you have like you said, in the music, the movies, however this stuff is being put out there, that somehow. When I was locked up, this is to tell you how, you know, crazy this stuff is actually is. And I tell you, I ain't got to tell you about this. I can tell you about a little nephew of mine that I just had that was out here with me. He's 6 years old. My brother spent 25 years in prison. His dad spent 25 years in the prison himself, and his mother was somebody that spent time in prison. And you know, when I had him out here, you know what he asked me? He said, since my mom and daddy went to prison, do that mean I gotta go? And he's 6 years old. And so, and I'm telling you, while I was sitting in prison, I met a young guy that told me, right out of Nashville, told me that they used to get behind these wrought iron gates and take pictures because they wanted to look like they was taking pictures, like they was locked up. And I'm telling you, this system, it's a system operating around us. I'm telling you that these people getting these messages early on, and like you said, through the music where they glorifying, you know, that somehow, I mean, you go back to this here. You know, when Martha Stewart, y'all know Martha Stewart, when she got locked up, she came home and she out there talking about she got street cred. You see what I'm saying? So this the type of stuff that I'm telling you reinforces this nonsense about somehow a rite of passage for our young men and women that you got to go to jail or prison to somehow get a level of respect.
And that's so hurtful to hear, because even my son, my oldest son at the time, he was only like 23, and he felt like that he had to continue to act out because he longed to be close to me so much. He said that he was going to continue to get in trouble just to be close to me. And I was like, what? And I'm like, no way, you know. So and those kind of things are really like hard to hear.
And how do you have that conversation as a father that's in cage? You can't touch them. You can't. It's, you know, you can make a phone call, but you really can't combat it. How do you balance that out?
Right, and it was so hard trying to do when you got the system raising the phone rates up so high. It's really difficult to even try to hold a 30-minute phone call. And at the time when I was like trying to call my son, because they was living 5 minutes away from my mom in Memphis, and they stayed in Olive Branch. Calling my mom, the phone call would be $3.60, but if I called my son, it was $19.75. And here I am in here with a prison job making pennies, trying to talk to him, you know, to convince him that this is no life.
But that's part of the system. I mean, in terms of, that's what I was saying earlier about, you got a system that it only operates because we disconnect from the people that's sitting there. I'm talking about as a family and communities, because just like you said, it was the same thing for me. My family, 300 miles away from me, it used to cost me right at $20 to make a 30-minute phone call. And so, so yeah, I mean, that's just the predatory nature of this system, though.
Yeah. That's that doomed to repeat.
She's actually one of the individuals that visits, and she wants to touch on how visitors are supported.
Go ahead, Pat.
Well, you know, before COVID, and I know there's other people here that experience it, before COVID, you could go out there anytime on Saturday and Sunday I go to Unit 2, Death Row, and since COVID, now you have to call and make an appointment. Mm-hmm. And there's a particular woman who anybody that goes out there knows, she's like the gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. And it's just like she makes it as hard as possible. And so you got to call, and then, you know, you got to go through this with her about the appointment I did this week where, why you want to come on Monday night? You're supposed to come on, well, you know. And then you get there, I have come from my synagogue dressed in the clothes I was in my synagogue and was told that I couldn't come in because they could see through my shirt. And then,
Yeah.
now,
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry.
experience that all the time with, friends trying to come to visit here. Because just recently, my good friend has been visiting me for like 12 years. She wore a regular black t-shirt. Nothing was on it. But they said that she couldn't clear the machine. And she had like no idea like what's wrong with the shirt. This is just a black t-shirt.
And some
But
people,
they refused to let her in
yeah,
until she had to like change shirts. And this was a shirt that she wore several times out here.
yeah, and they will, I've seen people that have driven 2 hours to get there, and they wouldn't let them in. And now they got this thing where you can't sit right next to the person. You got to have a chair in between, and the guy I visit told me this weekend, now you can't share snacks because, I mean, they just, excuse my French, but make stuff up. I didn't say the word because I'm at American
Be
Baptist
making shit
College.
up, Pat. Yeah, they just making shit up.
But I mean, seriously, that community, I think if people could go there, if they made it easier for people to be there, and it's just I'm just wanted to comment on that community piece because it's huge.
Yeah, so you experienced a 2 to 3 second hug, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, so that really makes the person feel like, what kind of connection is that? Like you're like contagious or something.
Right. Hey, let me say this here real quick about what Pat said. We got Raheem back there. I know that they've been doing work trying to get people to go inside to visit people in prison. I'm saying that anybody, if you think, and I'm encouraging everybody in there, if you haven't did it or if you're not doing it, you should certainly reach out to him, find out the work that they're doing, trying to connect people on the inside with people outside of here. Because I'm telling you, it's important. If you wanna make a difference, that's certainly one way that you can actually make a difference.
So, hello.
Right.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
being.
because having someone that's willing to visit it or just like being a pen pal, it really goes a long way on the inside in here. And another thing that I learned to do that found that it was very therapeutic for me is to like get into arts and turn around and doing that kind of thing to support myself. That helped me a lot on my mental health as to being able to like cope with the whole situation being here.
Right. We got a question there for you.
So, starting off, because I'm listening to your story about you been on a death row and now you're out.
Right.
So it started with going to the jury trials. And the first question that they ask you is, do you believe in a death penalty?
Right.
And if you say no, then they dismiss you. They don't want you on there. So it's something wrong with the law system, not the justice system.
No,
So
that's
the
true.
second thing is that we have a parole board. Who's monitoring and how do they get on this board? Because you have to almost say, yes, I'm guilty, I did it, and then they'll decide if they want to let you out or not. Because if you were in there knowing you were innocent, and they probably knew you were too,
Oh, they did.
but because they paying $80,000 per person in those jail, and Tennessee signed contracts back in 2004 and 2005 to say that I guarantee you that I'll keep these beds filled. So now we have the Department of Children's Service that's taking our children out of the homes and then pumping them up with medicine, and then when they turn 17, they kick them out on the street.
Right.
And now these children are out here busting people in the head, busting windows, taking guns. They end up in the system. And if they didn't do it like with your case, what if they would have executed you? And you're innocent. They can't say, oh, I'm sorry.
It didn't
forgive
happen
us.
before.
It's happening because
happened before.
we have so many cases that's coming to us now where people is out of prison, but they was charged with something, but because they could not afford an attorney, which they are with little bitty cases, they charging them with so much money to get their case and they can't get it, so now they're on death row and they didn't do it, and then they finally say, oh yeah, you're right, you didn't do it, and they letting you out. But what do? We have to do something. We can't keep letting this happen.
Well, the one, yeah.
And I think it's important to know too, they offered you a plea deal for
Yeah.
25 years, right?
Yeah, the people offered me a 25-year sentence in the middle of my trial. That's in my case, the people knew I was innocent. I'm telling you that everything that people presented against me, they fabricated. I mean, they brought in everything that the people presented against me, they fabricated. They came and lied, talking about they had took a print of mine off the card that was involved in the crime, which they was withholding the report showing that was not true. They brought witnesses in, had them to come in and say stuff that. So in my case, the people knew, knew I was innocent of the case. But not only that, but when you talk about juries and that type of stuff, there, I don't know what you guys know about Memphis. If you know anything about it, you know it's a majority black city. And so I was in a majority black city, being accused of killing a white prominent person, and I was tried by an all-white jury. So that speaks in volumes about, this system and how it actually operates. Yeah.
Yeah. Any more questions? Right here. If y'all just want to come up to the mic too.
Yeah. Oh, good evening. So, good to be back in my alma mater.
That's right.
Graduate of American Baptist College. I got a few little things real quick I got to plug. So next week, we're going to be at Beach Creek Missionary Baptist Church at 10 o'clock. Because if you really want to do something about the criminal legal system, it's going to have to go further than dialogues. But this is definitely the beginning.
Yeah.
You're going to have to become an organizer. But in your organizing, you're going to have to use your voting power. But we got to get people involved. And so I'm about to elevate the conversation to a level, because this was, the Holy Hill, and this used to be the chapel. And so I want to put in focus one of the most important ideas, but a concept, a belief system that Yahshua, AKA Jesus, the death penalty, 2 people on each side. One was forgiven. I'm not a preacher, but I learned a little bit about what was going on. And when we think about this death that's celebrated for centuries, we're in the Bible Belt. We're talking about the death penalty. And for those of us who were correctly taught about Jesus and the political assassination of one who was revolutionary in his approach to disrupting the culture in that time, and when you see where we at today, and when you know the religious sector has the ability to remove the death penalty as retribution for what we call murder, and we don't always know the people who are going to be killed are so-called guilty. When we know that there is a religious undergirding behind this type of death, I want to ask you and the brother, Akil, this is Raheem. By the way, I worked on death row for 6 years when I was at River Bend, and I got to know a lot of the guys on the inside, and it's just so crazy, see you here, and Akil, I don't know if you remember me, but if I remember you, you had them black patent leather Chris Webbers, if you the same one, but if you're not, then I remember you had them waves, but I know my question is going on. Yeah, but this is also for the audience, those who understand the crucifixion. When you have a central figure that the death penalty, in a way, patterns, and you have religious people who are supposed to look at this example, particularly Christians, and we're in the Bible Belt, and we're in Tennessee, and yet there is so much silence around this idea of killing people for a crime when it's antithetical to their very faith practice or belief. How do you reconcile with this, Ndume, Akil, and even those who preach the faith, when we have people who say they believe and yet they practice what I would say hypocrisy in the name of faith? You tell me what y'all think about that.
That's a good question right here.
Hey, before you don't brush over, man, what you, like you said, you came out of this, this where you graduated from. I mean, you need to tell people, I'm talking about, you should hear this guy's story. He spent over a quarter century in prison and came out and got a college education.
Right, okay. Listen.
Hey, what's your organization?
All
Raheem?
right.
Plug it all, man.
So I apologize for that. I really do need to lift up my alma mater, American Baptist College, because many of the people in this room, Dr. Harris, Reverend David Tucker, Phyllis, Janet Wolf, Julie Russell, Deborah, a lot of these people were going into the prison and providing a human spirit for us to believe that, like, if people still love us, right, then why shouldn't we aspire to be the best that we could be? And so I did leave. Right. I did leave River Bend with college credits. American Baptist College coming in, and Vanderbilt students, and I mean, these brothers and sisters were so sharp. They made me want to be a better version of myself. And yes, I was caged for 26 years.
That's why I'm standing tall today, because of those names you mentioned. And my brother Ndume that's sitting by you now. So those are the people that instilled that in me that I still do today. You know, that I just refuse to give up on that race for justice, because I know in order to get to that finish line, I have to keep standing up every day.
That's right. Yeah.
Last, I want to plug one more time. Next Saturday, 10 o'clock, we're going to be at Beach Creek Missionary Baptist Church, and then we're going to give you more insight into how you can participate in our inside-outside efforts, organizing, building a bridge to the prison through their family members, getting into every county in the state of Tennessee, creating Bridges to Freedom covenant groups, and helping family members to see how much power they really have. And so we're going to have to show up in the flesh. Thank you.
And that's and speaking of organizing, that's an action step for everybody to do, right, after this. Because we always, when it comes to organizing work, it's like, well, what can we actually do? What can community do? And that's something y'all can participate in and do next Saturday at Beach Creek.
And bring somebody with you.
Yep, bring somebody, bring two people with you.
Yeah.
Bring two people with you. We about 10 minutes before the reception and everything. I want to make sure we still got on time, but I want to take any other questions that we may have right here.
May I just stand here?
Yep, that's fine.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Huh?
Can Akil hear me?
He can hear you.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, here comes the mic. Okay. Thank you, Ed Miller. I have a great concern on the racial issue. I think our criminal injustice system in Tennessee has a racial discrimination problem. When I look at death row, one half of the inmates on death row are black. Mm-hmm. The population of this state that's black is 17%. That indicates racial discrimination. When we look at other issues of that nature, we still find the same racial discrimination occurring. We need to do two things. Number one is we need to work to overcome the death penalty, quite frankly.
Right.
There are 27 nations in the European Union, and a nation may not be a member of the European Union if a nation has the death penalty. 27 nations without the death penalty in Europe. and they have fewer criminal problems than we do. We need to work on that issue, but we also need to work on the issue of racial discrimination in the system. And what I would ask you, Ndume, and Akil, what can I, as a white lawyer, do to help you overcome this racial discrimination?
That's right. Yeah, this my phone call about to end.
Hey, listen, man, I'm glad you called in. I think it's really important that people hear from you. And I'll be back home in a couple of days. Call me.
Hey,
Yeah, and I appreciate y'all coming around and letting me share in on the conversation.
hey, Akil, it's Janet. Do you have a poem you want to share with us? Because I want people to know you're a poet,
That's
a
right.
trained mediator, community builder.
Right, and I appreciate you all and continue to stay in a good fight, and I will do the same from the inside.
Right. But she was saying, Janet asked you, I don't know if you heard it, she asked you, you want to share a poem with us, one of your poems. Also, too, let me say this here, Akil is, he also, too, got a piece of art out.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Hey, yeah, Ndume, you can do that so you can get all that information.
Right. All right, then, but yeah, he got a piece of art out there, and I'm saying, help support him, you can go buy it.
Right, and I'll call you in a couple of days.
All right, call me, man, I love you, I'll talk to you later.
All right, I love you. You take care of yourself.
All right,
We all love you, man.
that's right.
Yeah,
All right.
all out of love.
All right. All right.
I think I seen the question on it.
He's paying for that call out of his own pocket. Is there some way we can reimburse him?
Yeah,
That sounded expensive.
it is, the calls are expensive, that's one of the ways the system disconnect us from our loved ones and people that want to support us, like I said, thank you, that, you,
Is that putting money on his books? How can we?
You can certainly support him. Like I said, he got a piece of art out there that if you want to support him, whatever you want to, give him, take that home with you. But that's how we support him, because I'm telling you that people sitting in prison, I'm telling you, the way the system operates, high phone calls, making it hard for people to come and visit, I'm telling you, that's all part of the plan. Because if they can disconnect us from our community, I'm telling you, they know that we're going to get out and most of the time recidivate back into the system because you ain't got the support system of your family and friends and community.
We got one more question, and then we can close it out.
Good afternoon. So I was getting ready to leave, and I'm like, I can't. I can't because I'm standing here with all of my legends. I'm emotional. I'm excited. Definitely ready to go to work. I definitely want to be a part of going in, no matter, like you said in that last class, even if we are not their family, go in there and become their family. And this is what I want to do. I was waiting for Stacy to come back in, but I wanted to say, I don't know where she is, but I wanted to hear her. Janet Wolf and Stacy are the first one that put me on the death penalty injustice site. Stacy heard me say when my son was murdered, they wanted me to change my mind about, okay, how you feel about the death penalty now? And I feel the same way that I felt before it happened. I never believed in it.
That's right.
It's not my decision, it's Jesus' decision. I'm not pulling no switch, injecting nobody and watching nobody sit up there and die. And I said all those people who sit around those curtains that we was introduced to, it terrified me, so I don't know how they sleep at night. Then all the people who they know didn't do this, that spent all these years in prison, that terrified me because they still there. And to you, Mr. Lawyer, I give you utmost respect because for years and years and years, it's been all blacks and still gonna continue to be black if we don't stand. And I'm glad you asked me as a white man, white lawyer, what can I do? And I got some answers for you. Ndume and Raheem, y'all don't really understand how much y'all have, almost like y'all been my mentors and didn't even know it. So let me just say that to you. Stacy is the first one flew me to Washington. That's what I'm telling Rafi about, how she introduced. I was the only black person in that picture back in the early days. So let me just tell y'all how I was terrified to be around a bunch of white people, and I was the black person, and I didn't know about the Ku Klux Klan stuff then. So I tell people all the time, when you see us now standing in something, I tell people, you know how my ancestors feel. And people who know me know I'm going to speak and say what I feel. Now, this is what done terrified me. For me to be standing here 20 plus years later and still seeing my comrades, still fighting, but we still talking about the same thing. The death row. I thought I was told in San Quentin that they cut it out. Is that true?
Well, they got a moratorium out there.
They what now?
They have a moratorium in California on the death penalty, but they ain't got rid of it.
Okay, but I'm like him. How can we figure out how to find out how to get rid of it?
Policy.
Because all these people who say they're Christians and spiritual and all that, how can we stand up? How can we do a petition? And this is my last thing that really got me. I don't know if it was Stacy, Janet Alexander. Out of all three of them, somebody got me into death row at River Bend. I remember the guy, Abdul. He always had on white something. Huh? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Okay. I don't know what he did. He wrote somebody, the governor, the council, because you know my background was almost death row. But he wrote somebody to get me in there, and I ended up being in there with about 15, 16 of them. And all they want to do is people to hear them. Right. All they wanted to do was just explain whether they did it or not. They still wanted people to hear them. And then I'm telling them no one deserved to be in a cell that many hours. You know, I kind of get caught up just taking a shower alone. But you got them in that many hours. That young man said these people are going crazy. They're cutting themselves. They're losing their sanity. They're getting where they don't care anymore. So when I went in there and saw this with my own eyes, y'all, I'm asking all y'all when Raheem get ready to get this program off the ground where he's taking people in, please go. Right. But I definitely just had to give my comrades a shout out. I just want to let everybody know how sad I am to stand here and still be talking about this subject. And I'm like Raheem said, let's do something about it now. We can pray, then let's bring the action, but let's really just do it. But I had to acknowledge how I'm standing in the room with all of my legends.
As we close, and Ndume, I want to give you the last word, of course, to kind of close us out. If there's anything that you want to extrapolate on, anything you want to leave us with, as we head into the reception, which, you know, we can continue this conversation one-on-one with individuals.
I would just reiterate what's been said in here already. It's really important. I'm talking about if you want to make a difference, just like Clemmy just said, reach out. You could go on the internet and pick a name. You ain't got to do nothing but look on the Tennessee Correctional site and hell, pick a name and send somebody a postcard. I'm telling you, and you might save somebody's life. You see what I'm saying? Because if people know that, just like she said, people want to know that people know that they exist. I'm telling you that you got a lot of people sitting in prison would be doing much better off as individuals if they was connected outside. And I'm telling you, it could be a simple postcard. I mean, if you sitting in prison and you see when the mayor come, they come and they deliver mail, you see people standing around hopeful that they're going to get a letter. I'm telling you, when you go in there, though, the same people getting a letter or getting mail, same thing when you go in the visiting room, same few people getting visited. I'm telling you, you can make a difference. You can save somebody's life, and I'm telling you that it ain't hard. I'm telling you, even if you don't want to, like I said, send a postcard. But even beyond that, I'm telling you, get involved. It's really important. You can not only save a life, but that's how we're going to move forward and get rid of this death penalty.
Everybody, hands up and Ndume.
Man, wasn't that powerful? Yes. Man. So I had dragged Stacy back in here because I couldn't close out this program without her. She's in there trying to get the food together from us, but I had to bring her back in here. You missed Clemmy giving you your accolades for start bringing us in, connecting us,
and bringing us in this movement. I myself also lost my son to violence and gun violence. And how can you value life, like he said, if we are supporting somebody else taking a life, the state taking a life? So the fund doesn't stop, not tonight, nor for the next 4 weeks. So after this, we're going to be displaying Ndume's work. I got a couple of snacks for y'all, so y'all won't be biting each other's head out. And then also, I want to make mention of read the report. It is 70 pages, but it's a really good read. Actually, it's not 70 pages. It's 20 pages of citations. It's only like 50 pages. But it does a really good job of informing you of things that are happening in the state, by your county, things that you wouldn't even know in the areas where you live. It's called Doomed to Repeat. If you do use the keywords DPIC, which stands for DPIC, all you gotta do is type in DPIC and Doomed to Repeat, and you will pull up the site automatically, and it will take you directly to the report. Next week, October 27th, we are going to have Sabrina Smith, who was the first woman, period, not just black woman, first woman, period, to be exonerated from death row. She's going to be joined by the Innocent Project and Joyce Watkins, who was in prison wrongfully for 35 years. So they will be here with us next week. November 3rd, we'll have Jamar Tisby, national best-selling author. November 10th, we're going to be talking about restorative justice. I'm going to be sharing my story along with our dynamic duo over there at Rafa, Ashley and Travis. And November 17th, we're going to end it all talking about what is the change that we want to see with some of our legislators. Charlene Oliver is going to be one of the legislators that are going to be here speaking with us. So please do not stop coming out here on Friday nights for the next month. We will be here every Friday, starting at 6 o'clock until at least 7:30, unless I decide to feed y'all again in the future. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Oh my God, this was so dynamic.